Right, some of those are a bit serious, so I better do something a bit down to earth. Yesterday, I'm proud to say, was my 38th wedding anniversary. Two more to go to the big one. So I'm going to read a poem that goes right back to the early days when I met my wife-to-be, when we were both teaching assistants in France. And I lived in a tiny little place in the middle of nowhere. My wife worked in the town, and we needed to get a car to get between the two places. Because back in the 1970s, all the buses in France stopped at about 7 o'clock. So we bought this really clapped out 2CV. And if anyone's old enough to remember it, this was in the summer of, I think, 75, 76. It was the real record summer. So this is a bit of nostalgia for me. I hope you enjoy it. The 2CV. The first car we owned was a 2CV with no certifiable service history. The year we got together, we drove it to the end of its days. With its tinny, dinted roof, it had an air of slumped defeat. We rose above quite easily. When summer broke all records, the windows that didn't quite close were an unexpected bonus. Its mind-boggling gear stick seemed set to leave its socket. The functional dashboard as neat as an early Avro's. Our one encounter with the law, a strapped and booted gendarme, required a shameless display of fawning franglais. A set of bulbs and a red triangle raised its status to legal. On days off, our alpine ascents were a puttering epic. Each free-falling return, a foot to the floor, held note of whinging metal. It was sheer foolhardiness, I hear you say, to make such journeys in such a bagnole. And I, of course, can see you are right. As always, I can only agree. I am counting. I think when I've got 7 sheets of paper, I'll be done. Right. Okay. This is another down to earth one. There's another one where I hope there's a few people that are old enough to remember these things. This is a poem called The Observers series. When I was a little boy, my great love before I discovered poetry was natural history, and I was a great fan of Observers books. Must be a few people who are old enough to remember these lovely little books. They're just big enough to put them in your hand. And they had lots of very interesting titles, which for me were all the natural history ones, and they also had lots of really boring titles. Anyway, so this is a poem called The Observers series. At 9 years old, a clever clogs, I started my set with a prize. In the early heats of a quest for the naturalist of the year, I dreamed up a killer question. Do birds sing by instinct or learn? Decades later, I might have asked if a poet is born or made. But that day, scaling the podium, a dignitary clasped my hand. With a fixed smile he presented my own observers, British birds. Pocket-sized, compendious, packed with all the facts you need, I could feel it nestle snugly into my open palm. A page at a time it named the species, with Latin tags and coloured prints. When other volumes came along, they added up to a library, perching quietly on their shelf. Minerals, trees, pond life, mammals. The world reduced to habitats, taxonomies, abstract grid. Today they're still collectible, the domain of crazed completists who fork out top dollar for duds in all extant editions. Sewing, golf and silver, basic aircraft, military. Basic aircraft, civil. Some people love aircraft. Right, hang on, 1, 2, 3. There's nothing worse than people who go on too long. Right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right, 2 more. Oh no, hang on. Oh, 1 more. Oh, no, maybe 2. My thing is... Right, okay. Oh, right, I've got to start choosing now. Right, okay, this is the top one. I'll read this one. This is called Man on a Wire. And it's about that famous Frenchman whose name I have forgotten, who walked on a tightrope between the two towers, the twin towers. And this is an interesting insight into the way that I work. I get a great idea for a poem, and then I think, oh, I must do a little bit of research about this. And then I get carried away, and I write the thing. And this is what I did with this. I sort of wrote this poem about this bloke, and then I picked up the book, and I started flipping through the book, and I realised that the ending of my poem is completely wrong. And I was worried about this for about 5 minutes, and then I thought, well, my poem is what should have happened. So, and most people don't know what happened anyway. So this is like Philip Pullman, you know, you sort of do that and you go into a slightly parallel universe, and it's the same but it's different. Okay, so this is Man on a Wire. So I'll read this and then I'll find something short and then I'll clear off. Right, Man on a Wire. When he looks back on his life, he will see that the best of it was a journey he took from A to B on a wire between 2 buildings. His every breath a distillation of what it meant to keep your nerve and hold steady, each muscle braced and quivering like the wire itself, which at a distance was no more than a filament, but close up was a hawser, along which he took illicit steps, knowing his future weighed upon them. And all things were simple, once the choice was made. However the pole teetered, or the air roared wildly above a world of chairs and carpets, dates and deliveries, or the cops who stared amazed at a man walking across the sky, whom later they cuffed and cautioned apologetically, before asking him politely his name and a few relevant details. Right, okay, I'm going to do one last one. That's it, they're all down there, Grant. I can't go on any longer. Right, okay. This poem kind of follows on from the last one. It's called The Sky Dance, and it's based on a phenomenon that you see quite often when you sort of go around back streets. And I wanted to post this poem somewhere at some point, and I wanted a picture to go with it. And when I Googled to get a picture that was relevant to this poem, I just found thousands of them, thousands and thousands of pictures illustrating the phenomenon that this poem kind of plays with. So this is obviously something that happens all over the world. Anyway, I have tried to create a kind of urban myth based on something you see in streets. And I hope by the end, the time I get to the end of it, you'll have some kind of clue as to what on earth this poem was about. So anyway, it's called The Sky Dance. He has skipped off again. Barefoot and breathless, he is back in the land of traipse and plod, where no one knows his secrets and no one's taught him steps. For his kind of dancing needs to breathe, like a natural thing. His back flips and pirouettes, his glides and rappels set the wires humming. A faint acoustic beneath the range of whispered conversations, or the sudden uproar of urgent calls. There are times he's in so deep he's lost, and then leaves in a fluster, his trainers dangling mid-air above the wakening street. Thank you very much.